The first time she said it, "I'll watch over you tonight," her voice didn't sound like a nurse's promise. It sounded like something else. Something that made me forget how to breathe for a second. The room was too quiet for words to land comfortably. The kind of quiet that makes every small sound, the click of her pen, the soft rustle of her sleeve, feel like a secret being told. I was half sitting on the hospital bed, wrist wrapped, tired from too much not sleeping. She was standing close, adjusting the monitor, her shoulder almost brushing mine. Almost, but not quite. Her name tag said Claire, though she didn't look like a Claire to me. There was something about her presence, calm but restless underneath, that didn't fit into a neat label. She had that steady grace people earn from years of carrying others' pain, but her eyes gave her away. They looked like they'd been up all night for reasons that had nothing to do with work. I watched her hands, the way she moved them, careful but not cautious. When she reached past me to check the 4-line, the warmth of her arm lingered against my skin longer than it should have. Maybe she noticed. Maybe she didn't. She didn't pull away fast enough to make it clear. "You should try to rest," she said softly, not looking at me. "I'm not tired," I lied. Her lips curved, but not in amusement. It was more like she'd heard that same lie 100 times before. "Everyone says that," she murmured, turning off the overhead light so only the lamp near the bed stayed on. It cast her face in amber, skin pale where it caught the glow, eyes darker now, reflective. She leaned one hand on the bed rail, the other holding my chart loosely. "Then they fall asleep mid-sentence." "I won't," I said. That time, she looked at me, straight through. No polite glance, no professional mask. Just quiet study. Her gaze stayed there too long, and when she finally blinked, the air felt lighter, though not easier to breathe. For a while, neither of us said anything. The monitor beeped softly, the sound marking every second that stretched out between us. My hand was resting near the blanket's edge. Hers brushed against it once when she reached for the thermometer, just enough contact to feel the soft scrape of her skin, smooth, warm, deliberate. I wasn't sure. But I knew she didn't apologize. "You shouldn't be awake," she said again, quieter this time, like she wasn't talking about sleep anymore. "Then don't watch," I said before I could stop myself. The words hung there, too bold, too young. I almost took them back, but she didn't move. Didn't even flinch. Only her thumb tightened a little around the pen she was holding. Then, finally, "That's my job," she said. "To watch." I nodded, pretending that explanation made sense. But something had already shifted. The way her breath hitched before she turned away, the faint tremor in her wrist as she wrote something down, small details that shouldn't have meant anything, but did. When she finished, she pulled the chair closer to the bed. "Try," she said simply. "Even if it's just for an hour." Her voice was softer now, and for some reason, I did what she asked. I closed my eyes, though I didn't fall asleep. I could hear the quiet movement of her crossing her legs, the soft creak of the chair, the sound of her breathing, steady, near. Watching. Then the intercom crackled, sharp, unexpected. "Claire, room 12. Urgent." She stood quickly, a hand brushing my shoulder on instinct. Too gentle, too sure. "I'll be right back," she said. But her fingers hesitated before letting go. And when she left, the air still carried her, warmth fading, like a promise that hadn't decided whether to keep itself. She came back an hour later, hair slightly undone, a faint shadow of fatigue under her eyes. The intercom had gone quiet, but her energy hadn't. It was still charged, like she'd left something behind in the other room and couldn't quite walk away from it. "You didn't sleep," she said, noticing me sitting up again. "You didn't either." She smiled faintly, tired, genuine. "You watch people too much. Only when they tell me not to." That earned a low chuckle, the kind that escapes before someone realizes they've laughed. She sat back in the chair, crossing one leg over the other, smoothing her uniform with the side of her hand. It was a small motion, but I caught the tremor in her fingers. She wasn't nervous, exactly, just holding something in. I'd learned enough about her in small pieces. The ring she no longer wore, the way she checked her phone without unlocking it, the half-empty thermos she always refilled but never drank from. She had the kind of calm people built after being broken once, maybe twice, and learning how to live quietly afterward. Was it a bad one? I asked. The call. She shrugged. They're all bad, just in different ways. She said it too quickly, then turned her gaze toward the window, where rain streaked the glass in restless lines. The hospital lights outside blurred into color. You get used to it? I asked. No, her voice was almost a whisper. You just stop expecting the world to be gentle. That line hung in the air, heavier than it should have. She didn't mean for it to be personal, but somehow, it was. For a few minutes, we said nothing. Just the hum of the machines and the soft tick of the wall clock. Then she reached for the chart again, routine, probably, and brushed her arm against mine. It was barely contact, but it felt deliberate. I didn't move. Neither did she. Her breath was close enough that I could feel the warmth of it against my neck. I tried not to react, not to turn, but she noticed anyway. You should be asleep, she said again. I don't want to miss anything. That made her pause. Her eyes flicked to mine, curious, guarded. Then she leaned back, exhaling slowly through her nose, like she was letting go of something she couldn't admit wanting. You remind me of someone, she said quietly. Good or bad? Her lips curved, not quite a smile. Someone who didn't know when to stop looking. She stood, gathering her things. I'll make you some tea, she said. You'll sleep easier. As she turned, her hand rested briefly on my shoulder, a light pressure, almost accidental. But it stayed a beat too long, thumb tracing a small circle before pulling away. Claire, I said, before I could stop myself. She froze. Just for a second. Then she looked back, eyes softer, voice unsteady, don't. Then she left, the sound of her steps fading down the corridor. I sat there, the warmth from her touch still ghosting my skin, knowing I'd crossed something invisible, something neither of us could pretend hadn't happened. And for the first time that night, the silence between us wasn't empty. It was waiting. The next evening, she wasn't supposed to be on shift. That's what made it strange, the way she appeared in the doorway anyway, holding a cup of tea like an excuse. Couldn't sleep, she said simply. Thought I'd check on you. I didn't ask why she'd come in uniform, or why her hair was pulled back like she'd been working. She stepped inside before I could answer, the soft scent of her soap trailing behind her. The room was dim again, only the bedside lamp glowing amber. She placed the cup down, then lingered beside the bed. Too close. You're healing fast, she said, looking at my wrist. That's good. Her tone was light, but her eyes didn't leave mine. Are you? I asked. She blinked, a quick deflection. Me? Yeah. Healing. Her breath caught, small, almost invisible. Don't start. But she didn't walk away. The silence between us filled with the hum of the machines again, louder than it should have been. She smoothed her sleeve, fingers grazing her wrist, nervous, maybe, though she hid it well. You shouldn't talk to me like that, she said after a pause. How should I talk to you? As your nurse. You're not on duty. Her eyes flicked toward the door, as if someone might be standing there listening. But there wasn't. The hallway outside was quiet. Then, the faint buzz of her phone. She glanced at it quickly. A message. A man's name flashed on the screen before she turned it face down. You can answer, I said softly. It's no one. She said it too fast. Her hand brushed mine as she set the phone down, and this time neither of us pretended it was by accident. Her touch was warm, steady, and she didn't move away. I looked at her hand on mine, then up to her face. Her lips parted, just slightly. There was a flicker of something, fear, want, both. Then the door opened. "Claire," another nurse's voice called, casual but close. We both froze. She snatched her hand back, breath quick, shoulders tightening. "In here," she called, forcing her voice calm. The other nurse peeked in, smiling. "Didn't know you were still around. You're supposed to be off." "I was just checking something." The other woman nodded, distracted. "We're short upstairs. If you've got a minute, I'll be right there." The door closed again, footsteps fading. For a moment, neither of us breathed. Then she laughed once, low, shaky. "See? That's why I shouldn't be here." "Then why are you?" Her expression softened. "Because I wanted to make sure you were okay." I leaned forward before thinking. "And are you?" Her answer was a whisper. No, the space between us vanished, not a kiss, but the edge of one. Her breath brushed my mouth, her hand caught midair like she might touch me again, then stopped. We stayed there, suspended, caught between the rules and whatever was happening beneath them. She exhaled shakily, almost a sigh. "You make this harder than it should be." "Then don't stay," I said. Her eyes flicked down to my lips, then back up. "I can't seem to leave." Rain again. The kind that made the windows hum and the lights blur. I wasn't supposed to still be there, my discharge papers sat folded on the table, but Claire hadn't brought them up yet. She lingered in the doorway, fingers tight around a clipboard she didn't need. "You're cleared to go," she said finally. "They just need my signature. So sign it." She didn't move. "Why are you looking at me like that?" I asked. Her throat worked before she spoke. "Because you'll leave, and I won't see you again." The honesty in her voice startled both of us. I stood, slower than I meant to, and she instinctively stepped back, not far, just enough for the air between us to feel too thin. "You want me to stay," I said quietly. "That's not," she stopped, shaking her head. "That's not the point." "Then what is?" Her eyes flashed, anger, shame, something heavier. "You don't understand what you're doing." I took a step closer. "Then explain it to me." She laughed once, breathless, bitter. "You're 25. You'll move on, you'll find someone who doesn't have to hide behind hospital doors. And you?" Her lips parted but no words came. The rain filled the silence for her. She turned her face slightly, maybe to hide whatever was breaking there. I reached out before I could think, fingers brushing the side of her neck, up to where a strand of hair clung to her cheek. I tucked it behind her ear. She didn't move away. Her skin was warm. The kind of warmth that makes you forget what boundaries are for. "Don't," she whispered. But her eyes stayed on mine. "Why not?" "Because I won't be able to stop." The confession cracked the air between us. I could feel her breathing, quick, uneven. She stepped forward, and our foreheads almost touched. Almost. Her hand lifted, then hovered against my chest, fingers curling as if she wanted to push me away but couldn't decide which direction was safer. "You think this is something we can control," she said, voice shaking. "No," I admitted. "That's the problem." Her laugh was small, a sound caught between despair and want. "You shouldn't look at me like that." "Like what?" "Like I'm not supposed to be looked at." We were too close now. The smell of her, rain, soap, coffee, filled the space. I could feel the tremor in her hand as it finally settled against my chest. The moment stretched thin, one breath from breaking. Then the door creaked open, slow and uninvited. A voice called softly down the hall, "Claire." She froze, pulse jumping beneath my fingertips. Neither of us moved. Her lips hovered near mine, eyes wide, caught between wanting and warning. "Say something," I whispered. Her answer was barely sound. "If I do, I'll mean it." The door opened wider. And the world stopped. The next day, the hospital felt colder. Not by temperature, by silence. Claire avoided my room through most of her shift. I could hear her voice down the hall, steady, professional, distant. When she finally appeared in the doorway, it was near midnight again. She didn't turn the light on. "I need to talk to you," she said. Something in her tone made me stand immediately. She closed the door behind her, leaning against it like she was holding something heavy shut. "Someone saw us," she said quietly. "Last night." The words landed like a cold drop down my spine. "Saw what?" Her eyes flicked up, sharp, frightened. "Enough." I took a step closer, instinctively. She flinched, not from me, but from what the truth meant. "They asked questions," she said, voice low. "About why I was there off shift. Why I signed your chart late. They think what?" She exhaled hard. "They think I crossed a line." The air between us thickened. Every sound in the hallway suddenly mattered, every distant step, every squeak of a cart. She rubbed her arms, as if the chill was crawling under her skin. "Tell them it's not true," I said. Her eyes softened, the kind of softness that means you don't understand. "It doesn't matter what I tell them. It's how it looks. You didn't do anything wrong." Her voice broke. "Didn't I?" She turned, pacing once, then stopped beside me. Too close again. I told myself this was nothing. Just kindness. Just concern. Her hand hovered in the air before landing on the table between us. But I lied. I swallowed. "To them or to yourself?" "Both." The sound of it, that word, both, pulled the last bit of air out of the room. I reached out, fingers brushing hers where they rested on the table. She didn't pull away, but she didn't move closer either. Her whole body was tension, breath caught, shoulders tight, the faint tremor in her jaw giving her away. "I shouldn't have come back tonight," she whispered. "Then why did you?" She looked at me like she hated herself for the answer. "Because when I'm away, it's worse." The confession was quiet, but it hit harder than shouting ever could. Her phone buzzed again, same name, same man. She didn't look this time. Just silenced it. "Who is he?" I asked before I could stop myself. She didn't answer right away. "My ex-husband," she said finally. "He still calls sometimes. Says he wants to talk." "And do you?" "No," she said. "But I answer anyway." That honesty made the distance between us unbearable. I stepped closer, until I could see the pulse at her throat, the way her breath hitched as she whispered, "They've asked me to take time off." The words hit like a blow. "Because of me." She shook her head. "Because of what I let happen." Then, almost without meaning to, she reached up, fingertips grazing my face, hesitant, trembling. "I thought I could keep this small," she said, voice breaking. "But you make everything feel real," I finished for her. She didn't answer. Just closed her eyes, hand still on my cheek, torn between pulling back and holding on. Then her hand fell. "I have to make this right," she whispered. "How?" Her voice steadied, but her eyes didn't. "By ending it before we do something we can't take back." And then she turned to leave, slow, deliberate, though her hand lingered on the doorframe a beat too long, like part of her wanted to stay. Claire didn't come back for 3 days. By the time she did, I was already sitting by the window in my own clothes, discharge papers signed, bag packed. The rain had finally stopped. The air smelled like antiseptic and something fading, maybe us. She knocked once on the open door but didn't step inside. "You're still here." "I was waiting." She hesitated, hand gripping the frame like it was the only thing keeping her steady. You shouldn't have. I didn't want to leave it like that. Her eyes flicked up, tired, wary, but alive in a way they hadn't been before. There's nothing left to say. Then why are you here? That stopped her. She exhaled, long and shaky, then stepped inside, closing the door softly behind her. Because I couldn't stop thinking about you, she admitted. And I hate that I can't. For a moment neither of us moved. The light from the window fell across her face, every line, every hint of exhaustion. But beneath it, something raw still flickered. I lost my job, she said finally. They didn't fire me, not yet. Just, suspended. They said I blurred boundaries. Did you? I asked. Her mouth curved, small, broken. You tell me. I stood. We were inches apart now. She looked up at me, not defiant anymore, just open. Real. You could walk out, she whispered. Forget all of this. Let it fade. I could, I said. Then why don't you? Because I'd rather remember it than pretend it didn't happen. Her hand rose, uncertain, fingers brushing my sleeve. The contact was barely there, but it felt like everything we'd been circling since that first night. Do you have any idea what this costs me? She said, voice trembling. Do you have any idea what it means to me? She closed her eyes. I could feel her breath when she spoke again. You make me feel seen. And that terrifies me. Then let it. Her hand moved up, fingertips tracing my collarbone, slow, hesitant. I caught her wrist gently, not to stop her, but to steady her. This is where it happens, I said quietly. Where we decide. She opened her eyes then, and the look in them wasn't confusion anymore. It was surrender, threaded with grief. For a heartbeat, we didn't breathe. The world shrank to the space between our mouths, a single breath, a single thought. Then she leaned forward, not all the way, just close enough that her forehead rested against mine. This is me choosing you, she whispered. Even if it ruins everything. My voice came out low, unsteady. Then we ruin it together. Her breath caught, and she smiled, small and pained and alive. When she finally stepped back, the distance hurt. But it was clear now, no more hiding, no more half-truths. We both knew what it meant, we'd crossed the line. And neither of us would ever be the same. Morning light poured through the blinds, softer than it had been in days. The hospital had that weekend quiet, the kind where time moved slower, voices low, footsteps far away. Claire sat beside me, no uniform this time. Just jeans, a gray sweater, hair pulled back loosely like she'd finally let herself breathe. The badge that had always hung around her neck was gone. I signed the resignation papers, she said after a while. No sadness in her tone, just calm acceptance. It felt overdue. I watched her trace the rim of her coffee cup with her thumb, slow circles she probably didn't realize she was making. Are you okay with that? I asked. She nodded. For the first time in a long time, I think so. Silence settled, but it wasn't the heavy kind anymore. Just quiet, natural, easy. I kept thinking, she said softly, about how this shouldn't have happened. About how people would see it. How I'd see myself. She looked up, eyes tired but honest. And then I realized. I've been living by rules that stopped fitting a long time ago. I reached across the space between us, hand open. She hesitated for only a second before letting her fingers slip into mine. Her skin was warm, familiar. We didn't say anything for a while, didn't need to. The air between us was still charged, but different now. Calmer. Real. I was scared, I admitted. That once I left, you'd disappear into some version of yourself that didn't include me. She smiled faintly. I thought about that too. And? Her eyes softened. Then I realized I don't want to disappear anymore. The words settled in my chest like something I'd been waiting to hear without knowing it. I moved closer. She didn't move away. When I brushed a strand of hair from her face, she leaned into the touch, slow, unguarded. The side of her hand came to rest against my jaw. No hesitation this time. People will talk, I said quietly. Let them. Her thumb traced the corner of my mouth. They don't know what it cost to get here. I nodded. She leaned forward, resting her forehead against mine, the same way she had that night we almost crossed the line. Only this time, there was no reason not to. No uniforms. No titles. Just her and me. When our lips met, it wasn't rushed or desperate, it was steady, certain, a quiet sealing of everything we'd already said without words. The kind of kiss that doesn't promise forever but promises truth. When it broke, she exhaled softly against my skin. We'll figure it out, she said. No more pretending. Outside, the rain had finally stopped for good. She rested her head on my shoulder, hand still in mine. The world felt smaller, but right-sized for the two of us. We didn't talk after that. Just sat there, quiet, close, knowing that whatever came next, we'd chosen it together. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?